we'll start without any prop to begin with, coming up to the space, and we'll just first off get a sense of where you're at. How are you standing on your feet? Right, so what I mean by that is, where is your weight? Well, actually, where are your feet? Now have a look at my feet. They're kind of hip width apart. They're a little bit wider. My feet are facing forward, right? They're straight ahead, rather, as opposed to, right, turned out, turned in. I'm trying to really exaggerate there. Just have a little look down at your feet and see where they're at. And once you've got that, take a shift forward, shifting your weight forward onto your toes. Right, and do something like this. And then have a shift backwards. Do that a couple of times. Forward and back. And then settle into the more weight back on your heels position. And then once you have that, lift all 10 of your toes up off the mat, if you can, and spread them out. Spread them right on out. Get a bit of a sort of stretch, a bit of work into your toes. Right, note where the weight is there. When your toes are lifted, you'll automatically shift back a bit onto your heels, and then you'll be pressing down underneath the balls of your feet, like the base of the big toe, the base of the little toe maybe. So once you have that feeling, let your toes come back down again, but try not to sort of shift all the way forward again. Keep it on those 3 main points. Right, and then just take a couple of breaths there. Take some time to feel. What does that feel like? And I have to tell you, when I do that, I'm still, even though after years of working on this, I can still feel myself lifting up the front of my quads. So it's a long lecture, that one. I feel myself lifting my kneecaps up. I want to try and relax my thighs, relax my kneecaps, but keep the weight even across my feet. All right, just the best you can, right? This is just us getting in touch with our own bodies, which is so important, right? So many of us are spending our lives in our heads and not getting a sense of what's happening. All right, now, once we get that, this is going to be a bit of a balance on one foot. So you might choose to hold on to the back of a chair, or just sort of rest your fingertips or onto a wall. I'm just going to lift the foot up and just sort of slide my foot forward and backwards. Now, I do this a bit in the fascial fitness class. But the aim is to move your thigh bone around in your hip socket, right? So we're coming into the hips. Up, right? Backwards and forwards. It can be touching the floor, right? You can be holding onto something. And then just a simple figure 8 kind of movement, if it's okay. Right? And what I'm doing here is I see how I'm turning my foot in and I'm turning it out and in. So my whole leg from my thigh bone is rotating around in the hip socket. And if that's okay, you could bend your knee a little bit more and do a bigger movement here, right? Or a higher movement. Really, it doesn't matter. We want to get your hip and thigh bone moving around. The thigh bone, where it connects into the pelvis, is the hip. Okay. Now I'm getting a lot of work on my standing leg. That's enough for me on that leg. So I'm going to put this foot down, my right foot, and I'll switch on over and do the same on the other side. So just the movement forward and backwards first. That could be enough for you, or you could start to do that figure 8 kind of movement. And see, I'm standing there relatively still because my aim is just to move this limb. Right? And again, it can be bigger, right? Rotating my whole leg and seeing how it can move, or not necessarily seeing, right? That's a visual tool. I'm feeling, right, how my thigh bone moves around in my hip socket. So you could stay tracing a little movement on the floor. Perfect. 2 more. Last one. Right, and I know the difference. This leg, when it was standing on the floor, got a lot more sore a lot quicker. This one seems pretty solid still. Have both feet back on the floor, and then start to move your pelvis around in a circular movement. As you're pushing your hips to one side, pushing them back to the other side and around. How does this feel? What kind of movement can you do? There we go. Moving. And as you do that, what are the other sensations that come up in your body? For me, I'm getting a little bit of a twinge, very mild, right, in my left lower back. The more I do this, the less I feel that. There's that good old saying that I use all the time, motion is lotion. All right, let's go the other way. Sometimes I feel like a real cliche standing here talking to you. I love them. I love those little sayings. They're so valid. Right, let's do maybe 3 more circles here. 2, 1. Come on back to center, and we'll do a roll down while we're here. So we're standing up tall. Again, another favorite of mine, let your arms hang. Give them a bit of a shape so you can really let your arms dangle. Put a bend in your knees, nod your head, and then roll down. Lead with the top of your head as you make your way, rolling down towards the floor. Now, can you see here? My pelvis is curling under, my lower back is rounding, so there's more movement, right? Even though it doesn't appear to be hips, it definitely is. And then round and roll back up again. We'll do 2 more of those. 3 is such a great number to do these. And the reason, right, I do them in 3s is the first one is like, we're just testing the waters, we're seeing what it feels like. The second one, we're a bit more familiar with the movement, so we can do it without thinking too much about it and maybe feeling it a little bit more. And then the third one, we're like, all right, we've got it, we know what we're doing. So maybe I can just get a real sense of what's going on here. Maybe I'm just going through the motions. So, and again, I'm okay with that because you're still moving the way. Great. So we see that there's a difference between rounding or hinging at your hips. The hinging action, it's a simple movement, but it's often quite challenging for a lot of us. So find where your thigh bones meet your pelvis, right? So right up the top of your thigh bones, we'll have our little hip creases there. Put your fingertips there and just push them back, just hinge. Now see how my back is now relatively flat rather than I was rounding before, okay? So my hips are going back. Okay, you can bend your knees again or not, and then stand up, push your hips forward. Right, go again, push your hips back, find the hinging motion, and then come back up again. We'll be playing with this a bit, right? Hinge forward, your hips go back. Right, my hips are going to come back up right again. We're going to do 2 more. Hinge, come on up, and last one. Hinge, and come on up to standing. Okay, let's do a little stretch, but it's going to involve